Welcome to the VŌC Podcast.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing? Welcome to a brand new episode of the VŌC Podcast. I'm Ronald, and today I'll be chatting with professional actor and voice actor James Yaegashi, who is perhaps best known for voicing Woozie, the Chinese Triad leader in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. But he also provided a few additional voices for Grand Theft Auto 4, and also voiced Dr. Sushang in BioShock Infinite, and many more, right? I mean, there's a lot of acting-related stuff you did. So how you doing?
I'm doing well, despite all the craziness in the world, the COVID and everything, staying healthy, I'm doing very well.
That's very good to hear, man.
Yeah.
So first I would probably ask, we have this COVID situation. It's not very good. So how did you handle the first days of it?
Oh, man. Oh, it was tough. I was actually in a play that was going to have its first preview the day that New York theaters shut down. And so we were rehearsing and, getting all ready, and then boom, just canceled, So it was very strange, weird. But, it's such a big, it's something you can't really do anything about, right? It's a pandemic.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to roll with it. And the good thing is that we remounted that same production this year, and I just performed it, so it came around and worked out fine. Yeah.
What play was it?
It's called Whisper House. It was by a guy named is a musical by a guy named Duncan Sheik and Kyle Jarrow, and Duncan's famous for a musical he wrote called Spring Awakening that won numerous Tonys several years back. And he used to be an indie rock guy, like in the 90s. And so a lot of people know him from that too, but very cool music. Interesting story.
Yeah. That sounds pretty interesting. I can't get over the fact how much you sound like Woozie. But we are our instruments, and there are going to be times when we're going to hear our characters,
Yeah. Very true.
And with that, when was your first encounter with acting?
Oh, man. College, pretty much. I was a literature major, but I auditioned for the theater group in college and started taking classes, and then really ended up loving it. And I went to graduate school for acting and directing after I finished my undergrad. And just sort of continued on since then.
Did you have any different, career opportunities in mind?
I initially was thinking the theater, which I have been doing. But, as an actor, you kind of have to do everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, TV, film, commercials, voiceovers. So, as San Andreas was a game that was really at the beginning stages of motion capture and sort of like CGI being really, trying to become more lifelike and whatnot. I was lucky to be a part of that, that whole thing. Although I got to say, my gripe is that it was so early with the technology that yet, set good parameters, in terms of how fees, and back then there weren't even residuals for those computer games, so that was a real bummer, because it's huge game.
Yeah.
And I've done lots of audiobooks and TV. I was in a Marvel series called the Runaways for a few seasons, and stuff like that.
Let's get back to the acting stuff. So you said as an actor you have to do pretty much everything, but not everyone's good at, for example, voiceovers, So that's sometimes a thing. But what do you think makes a good actor?
Oh, man. that's a very so I think number one is empathy, right? The ability to step into someone else's shoes, non-judgmentally, and just really kind of understand someone else's thinkings and feelings and perspectives. And then I think also, you know, as a performer, then you need the skills to be able to express the things that your character is experiencing, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's both an internal and also sort of an external skill set that you need to be a good actor.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that comes into that, you know. But you know, I have an interesting question, because apparently you're a martial artist with black belts in judo and aikido. So what can you tell us about that? I'm sure the GTA fans are very interested in that.
Sure. Yeah. So no, I've been doing sort of, you know, martial arts for a while. I started way back in junior high in Japan. That's when I started judo, and I did judo junior high in high school. And then I came over to the States, and I didn't do anything while I was in college or grad school, just because there weren't. I went to school in Chicago, and then to Kansas City for graduate school. It's just harder to find dojos and, you know, whatnot. And I was also very much, you know, consumed time-wise with my, you know, training. And then, you know, years go by and I get into my 30s, and it's really funny because I'm starting, you know, to get to the point where, like, if I don't really, you know, use my body, it starts, you know,
Yes.
and big and everything. And my wife was like, you better start, you know, finding something to work out to, whatever. I was like, you know, I've always wanted to do Aikido. And so I went to a dojo that's nearby where we live called Brooklyn Aikikai. And really, I got bit by the bug. And it's been like, going on 13 years now that I've been practicing. And it's interesting because with Aikido, I find so much of it, it doesn't translate, but it applies, I guess, to the craft of acting as well.
Yeah.
The notion, like being present, you know, going with whatever is coming your way, doing, you know, accomplishing the maximum by doing the minimum, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of things, sort of, you know, and just even in terms of learning to sort of expand your presence, you know, and ground yourself, and a lot of things I find are very applicable to what I do as an actor as well. So it kind of feeds into it.
Yeah, man, that must be so interesting. You know,
Yeah.
I haven't seen footage of you on set. You know, it would be cool to see something if you have something.
Oh,
sure.
you mean like behind the scenes kind of stuff?
Yeah. Or behind the scenes kind of stuff. Yeah. What are you up to, you know, nowadays? Are you working on anything that you can talk about? Because everything is so secretive these days.
Right.
You know?
I know. Yeah. I am. So I just finished doing Whisper House, that musical I was telling you about. We closed this past Sunday. And then I've been doing. I'm playing a character on a upcoming Netflix animated series called Mech Cadet, and so that's been a lot of fun. It's the first time that I'm doing an animated series. You know, I've done lots of voiceover in other capacities, but not for like an animated television kind of setup. So that's interesting. It's a different, you know, it's a different thing than doing live action TV. Different thing than doing games. You know, it's just fascinating how different forms of stories get made, you know. And next month I will be doing a film, which I am not at liberty to say, but I'm very excited about, because it's a director that I really love, and the story that I think is very, very relevant to where we find ourselves in the world today. So looking forward to that.
Well, guess what? Me and your fans are wishing you good luck with that.
Thank you.
You know, so you have a Japanese father, right? So I have a question. Do you also do voiceovers in Japanese?
Oh, I have done some, yes. Although because I'm based in New York, the bulk of my work has been in English. I've done Japanese voiceovers for like, industrials that are used sort of like within companies. I've done one commercial spot that ran in Japan. Trying to think. I think that's about the extent of it in terms of like strictly Japanese scripts or whatever. Most of the stuff I do is in English.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if there was a Japanese translation for San Andreas, but it would have been so cool if there was, and you would have been using that as well.
I think it would have been very cool.
Well, you know what? I think we should time travel a bit back to around 2003.
Okay.
So, GTA San Andreas gets released in 2004. And so how was the audition process like for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas? And how different was it later for GTA 4?
Okay. So San Andreas was the first time I was sort of like exposed to the people at Rockstar. So it was a regular audition, but I shouldn't say a regular audition, because usually voiceover auditions, you go in a booth, right? And you do the voice or whatever. And then that tape gets submitted to the producers. But this was a situation where because it was motion capture and voice, which, like I said earlier, was really just beginning. And I mean, Rockstar was one of the first sort of companies to really start employing that technology. And so the audition actually was like a TV audition where the camera was there and they actually had me, doing the scene as if I were acting it normally. Yeah. And then, so I think they were looking for really not just voice actors, but actors who could embody the characters, because obviously they were MOCAP. And so that was the audition for San Andreas. And then, I really had a great time and hit it off with the Rockstar folks or whatever. And so then they basically called me. I didn't really audition for
GTA 4.
GTA 4. We're like, we got a couple characters, we want you to do. Do you want to, come and do it? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So,
I mean, I'm pretty sure people didn't notice that it was your voice, until they actually, seen the credits.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually haven't played GTA 4, so I don't even know the places that I'm in, and what they used from what I did, all that stuff. But it was fun to play a different kind of character for sure. I mean, Woozie was such an idiosyncratic character, right? I mean,
yeah.
Had guy, wry sense of humor, and
indeed.
And I think the characters on GTA 4 was, I think I played a cop.
Yeah, an undercover cop. Yeah.
And then I think I actually also had a couple other little roles in that one too. But anyway,
probably the population of GTA 4. Like the citizens and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Barely remember.
I mean, there's not much to remember, so it's fine. We have a question from Ride of the Storm. My question is, you do know that I'm black, right? And not Chinese. That's a reference to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. You remember that?
Yeah.
That was a great scene.
Oh, man.
So we have a question from Karim is stalking you. I have a question for him. What is his favorite line that he said in the game? Do you remember any, lines from the game?
Oh man, I tell you one line that I still remember that I really liked was I'm blind, not stupid.
Yeah, that was a great line. We have a question from Significant Draw. How was the whole process of working with Rockstar, and what did that experience teach him?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, it was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed working with the people of Rockstar. They were very fun, first of all. So it was fun to be on set every day. And they the people that they put together as a team to create both, in terms of director and the audio people and the camera people and the cast, they put together really good people that had good chemistry, right? And so we'd feed off each other, and it was very fun, very fun. I don't know. That's, to me, that goes such a long way, right? In a work environment where a lot of jerks, and you enjoy what you're doing. And I think creatively too, when you're enjoying what you're doing, there's a lot more stuff that comes out that's interesting to use.
So you said you auditioned for in a television-ish way, right? So did you do the mocap as well for Woozie, or was it just the voice? Yeah. Oh, you did the mocap too.
Mocap as well.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think we knew that, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I did the mocap and the voice, as I did, and I also it wasn't as big a thing, but I think I also, the GTA 4 also, but there's another Rockstar game I did mocap and
Midnight Club 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that one too. Yeah. And you know who I did that scene, the characters in the scenes I did, one of the guys that I worked with was Hoon Lee, who is in Banshee, he's in C, he's like, I don't know, he's in a lot of great TV and movies these days. Yeah.
Every day is a learning day.
Yeah, it is.
We have the next question from MB. My question to him is if he liked voicing Woozie in the game.
Oh yeah, it was so fun. I mean, what a great character, right? Like this guy, a significant, impairment, right? He can't see, like one of his senses is gone, but it doesn't stop him. And not only does it not stop him, but like gives him an edge almost of being able to do all kinds of crazy stuff, in a world, in Chinese mafia world, to where he is, and it's just great without still keeping his sense of humor intact and being a fun guy. It is fun. It's great.
Do you know what I find funny is that until a specific point of the game, Woozie treats CJ like he's not even blind. He doesn't acknowledge him until we get to that part in the game where CJ has to swim. He has a mission like that. And so CJ asks him why Woozie can't do it himself, right? And then Woozie has to tell him what's going on. I'm blind, Carl, not stupid. Yeah. The next question from Patatio. Ask him if he liked Woozie as a character and if he had anything to do with the development of it. Like, I believe maybe writing, from a writing perspective.
Oh boy.
It's hard to remember because it's been a minute. It's been a minute since you did that.
It has been, but I like when you're doing the scene, sometimes, you might say something that's not in the script per se, that then the director is like, oh yeah, that's good, let's keep it, that kind of thing. But I would be hard pressed to actually articulate a place or a line where that happened. But I'm sure it did. It normally does in the process,
Yeah, a little bit of improv here and there, happens. Yeah. The next question from Suprarose. Can you ask if he had beaten San Andreas, and if so, what was his favorite mission? Have you played San Andreas?
I have, but okay, so I am a game nerd, but I'm terrible. I'm old. I
come
grew
on.
Up no, I
it's not for everybody,
First, I used to do in Japan we called it family computer, but it was the Nintendo, like the early first models, right?
Yeah.
And I just was never good at like anything that required really good hand-eye skill coordination kind of stuff. So like my go-tos are like role-playing games, like I love like Dragon Quest or like I was a huge Final Fantasy fan. And so with GTA, I was only able to get to a certain point, and I just sucked at driving to get in the cars to do what I want, and it's just like, oh, forget it. My a better player than I am, so I never did beat the game, unfortunately.
But did you watch some gameplay videos of other people playing it?
I did see some of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I did the cut scenes that we did and whatever, and so I cheated.
Well, actually, not too long ago, I believe last year in November, that Rockstar re-released GTA Definitive Edition. Have you heard of that?
No, I did not. That's cool.
They remastered the games. So yeah, don't forget, you're credited, by the way, on IMDb. But did you get paid? Because usually actors should get paid when their voice is being reused again, even though they got paid for the initial thing, but it's being reused.
Right. So the thing with I don't know, I haven't seen anything yet, but what I was kind of hinting at earlier is that the whole thing of using actors to do mocap and then voiceovers, in games was such a new thing that there was actually no provision for example, residuals in the SAG contract that we had. Okay. And all that was back at a point where nobody knew whose jurisdiction games would be. Is it SAG, or this is back when SAG and AFTRA were two different unions. They've now joined, and so there's one union for the act. But it was this thing where it kind of fell in between, like whose jurisdiction is it, or whatever. And SAG had sort of like a session fee agreement, with the industry, but there were no provisions for residuals. And I always say it's such a bummer because like I said, San Andreas was so huge. I recall reading that I think it got released the same weekend that Pixar's The Incredibles was released, and I think it made more money than The Incredibles did that weekend.
Really?
And yet, because for the actors, there's no residuals or anything like that. For that particular game, I don't see anything coming in since then. And I don't know what that means for the re-release and whatnot. But I'm very glad that the union finally came around to realizing that it's a huge industry and actors need to be protected and their work has to be compensated for sort of down the line as well, just like for TV, film, and other voiceover media, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just say I have not seen any check yet for that re-release. We'll see. I'll talk to my
Okay, do so. No problem. So basically, this new re-release of the three games, the trilogy, Vice City, GTA 3, and San Andreas. Now, Rockstar released it, and it was very bad, apparently. So they are now fixing it up because the people didn't like it, and it's like $60 or some shit like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's very expensive, and you don't even get what you'd expect. So it's known for being bad.
The specific criticism was for that?
A lot of bugs and
Really?
Yeah.
That's lame.
Yeah, but they're now fixing it up, so that's something.
Yeah.
And apparently they're working on GTA 6. So if you happen to be in that later on, that'd be great. Rockstar, listen here. James would love to be Woozie again, right, James?
Bring him back.
Yeah. Do you know any of the GTA actors personally from San Andreas?
Oh man, no. I've lost touch. I've lost touch the folks there.
What you said you did the mocap, so I believe you did meet Young Maylay or Chris Bellard, CJ.
Yeah. I don't.
Maybe
Yeah,
some other folks too.
no. Yeah. We were on set all the time together. But I do not. I mean, think about it. This is also before the time where cell phones and stuff were really popular.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the way that
yeah,
stay in touch and text each other or swap info and stuff just was not. It wasn't common yet.
Yeah.
You know. I wonder what he's doing now, CJ.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You should look him up.
Yeah, I did. I mean, he does music. I mean, I believe he was doing music back then as well. So there's a question from Yogs 404. Did you have any problems with Rockstar? Because voice actors from previous games and in San Andreas, apparently there were lots of problems. So what you said you had a good experience, but did you have any problems at one point?
Not when I was working. I mean, the only problem that I would say is really, and it's not necessarily Rockstar, it's just the industry, right? That I feel like the gaming industry definitely took advantage of the fact that it was new technology, and so they were able to use a lot of us actors without having to pay us the way that they would have had it been a TV show or a movie or whatever. But that's that has more to do with sort of like the industry and the union versus Rockstar. In my experience, working with Rockstar actually was great. If the people that I worked with Rockstar, I should say, was great. Yeah.
Chris also said that, I believe a few years ago, maybe one or two, he also blew up and said some stuff about Rockstar because I don't know what exactly is the backstory behind that, but he said he wouldn't do CJ again. So yeah, he didn't come out clear what exactly happened. We don't know. We can just speculate, So
I'd imagine it's probably similar to this is just conjecture, but if I were in his shoes and I did this like one of the most popular video games ever, and all I got was session fees, I would be pretty pissed too. Do you know what I mean?
I personally think it has something to do with him doing CJ and doing music at the same time, right? But he mostly gets recognized for CJ, and I'm sure he must be, full of that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's still a huge fan base behind this game. And I'm sure you have a lot of fans that maybe just don't follow you yet on Instagram. But, there's a lot of people that still enjoy this game to this day, even though it's getting pretty old.
Yeah, well, that's my understanding. And I forget, I don't know. Some fan asked for a cameo. And so I did a cameo. They wanted to, me to sort of like do a Woozie thing for somebody, and so I went back and looked at I watched some of the cutscenes and stuff, and I'm going, my God, this stuff is so primitive looking, but I can't believe that there is such a huge following still. I guess it's just a very loyal fan base.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah, and I don't know if there are new fans to it that are kind of coming to it, in terms of like a retro thing or not. But
well, since Rockstar re-released the game, now I'm sure the newer generation will also find out about it. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
We have the next question. What was your most memorable moment while doing Woozie, his character?
Oh man.
If you remember anything, that is.
Moment. I know. I'm trying to think. It's so vague, and I can't remember if it was a moment in the booth where I was doing like the ADR stuff for the game, or if it was in the MOCAP studio. But there's a section, I think, where isn't there a section where Woozie just kind of loses it and just starts spraying everybody?
Yeah. I believe there is a scene like that.
I remember that as just being like really cathartic and really fun because the trick is like, just let it fly, you know, like yeah.
Do you happen to have any behind the scenes footage of doing Woozie or anything?
No, that I don't. I mean, like I said, this is before the
yeah, of course. Yeah.
iPhones and everything. So no. It's all like fading in the back of my head. You know?
Of course. Yeah.
But it's I mean, to set up. I mean, I don't know if for fans that aren't familiar with how motion capture works. It's kind of cool because the studios are like these big warehouses, like sound stages.
Mm-hmm.
They're like a warehouse, and they have these like infrared cameras set up all along the perimeter of the space, and those are sending out infrareds to create a grid.
Mm-hmm.
In like a 3-dimensional grid in the space that of course we can't see because it's infrared or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I'm sure people have seen these ridiculous looking MOCAP suits. It's like a wetsuit with a hood with all mm-hmm. these balls stuck on them, right?
Yeah.
And then go and act or whatever. But like that was we'd always sort of like, because it's always I don't know how it is now. Maybe it's better technology, but it's like basically like Velcro. The mm-hmm. the ball stick on, there'd mm-hmm. be Velcro. Boop, boop. So we like throw the balls at each other. Make them I don't know, wait until whatever.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. Did you used to do conventions for GTA specifically?
No, I did not.
That's unfortunate. I'd expect panels for such a huge game, but if I remember correctly, Chris wasn't involved in anything either, even though he was CJ, so it's really just interesting why Rockstar didn't want to, promote their game this way.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wonder if the whole, like convention scene it wasn't. I don't recall it being as big of a scene as it is now. I mean, is this like 20 years, right? Almost, not quite ago.
I guess.
About
18, probably. Yeah, something like that. It's been a while ago.
Yeah, I wonder if studios' attitudes towards cons have changed over those several years, because now definitely that's like a big push, right?
Yeah.
You do anything, like when I did Runaways, that was a big thing too. Like they'd have a panel and stuff every mm-hmm. year. But I don't recall like really there being such big PR pushes.
You know what would be fun?
Yeah.
If someone would get you all together in a Zoom call or something and have like an online panel, for Christ's sake.
I mean, I would imagine, like you're saying, even now there's such a big following that, if someone were to, throw a group together from, San Andreas or some of the other games, I bet you that, companies would want to have that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think people would be interested.
Yeah.
There should be like a petition made or something.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's go to the next question from Francis. So, did you previously known of the Grand Theft Auto series before voicing Woozie?
I didn't know of the game. Yes, I did know of the game, but I had not played it because, like I said, I'm not very good at like these, skill-driven games.
Yeah.
But I did know of it, and I also knew that it was supposed to be a very good franchise. Yeah, I think, were there 2 games before San Andreas?
I believe 4, but 2 were in the
really?
3D era.
Okay.
So the 2 were like more professional already. The first two were just 2D. So, like from a upside kind of view, top side. Yeah. So that was different.
Nice.
Another question from Francis. Have people ever recognized your voice from the game in public, for example?
No, not in public. No, that's not happened. Maybe you will if we come across.
Yeah.
Wait, Woozie?
Yeah.
Let me put my glasses on,
Yeah. Sunglasses. Yeah, that would be actually cool if you could, put on some sunglasses.
Yeah.
All right. We have another question. Did the controversies of the game for this help or potentially hinder your career with opportunities shortly after? So basically, did you get more work after San Andreas? Do you think that somehow extended your career?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think
it's a hard question though to answer.
It's a hard question. It definitely gave me more, game jobs for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it affected my work in other fields like theater or TV or film, but definitely I think it did open up more doors for voicing game characters. Yeah.
Okay. You answered that question pretty well. Would you be willing to get back to the role of Woozie if asked?
Oh, I think, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I think, yeah, totally. I'd be game for that.
I agree with you. And would you also be willing to do community projects? For example, animations made by the community?
Oh.
Yeah, that's another thing,
I know enough about that to say yes or no, I guess. Yeah. What are those? I mean, it's like people create their own animation kind of thing.
Yeah, for example, they make up their own story and fun animations and stuff like that, like funny animations and comedy, yeah, kind of stuff.
Oh, interesting.
I might send you some videos later on. I think you'd be interested. They reuse your voice lines and for example, they mix some voice lines together. So you say like a funny sentence. Like there was a video where you said, I'm blind and I'm stupid. So that was a funny animation. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting.
It's amazing what people can do now, with technology and everything. It's amazing.
It's so, very inspiring, I say.
Yeah.
Okay, so next, there's a, hold up. Okay, HZA Main says, Midnight Club 3 was my first game. He was in the remix edition as the Tokyo mechanic. I only found that out after playing the game again after years of GTA San Andreas and GTA 4. I want to know how he got into his relationship with Rockstar and what his favorite role is. Oh,
well, so yeah, okay, so I think Woozie's hands down the favorite, of all the characters I played. And Woozie was the in to Rockstar for me. That was the first role I got with them. And then it was just, they come up with other games. They're like, hey James, we have this, character we want you to play in, Midnight Club. I think Midnight Club though wasn't so much of it's mostly driving, right? It wasn't a whole lot of character stuff, not a whole lot of cutscenes.
I believe so. Yeah, it was mostly driving. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't a lot of scenes, but it was fun. I remember the scenes that I did were kind of fun. And then the GTA 4 also was a situation where they're like, yeah, we got these characters, you wanna do them, and then but I haven't. Yeah, it's been a while since I've worked with them. I think GTA 4 is the last time I worked with them. They've been doing, like the Red Dead Redemption and stuff, right? That's those are the games that they've been doing pretty, or putting a lot of effort into these days or whatever. But maybe they don't see a an Asian character prominent featured in those stories. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm surprised they didn't bring you back in GTA 5 because, also a lot of pedestrians and citizens and stuff. So I think it would have been a good time to bring you back again. And I have one more question from HZA Main.
Okay.
Do you drink? If so, what's your favorite drink? Cocktail or specific?
That's a great question. Yes, I do. Probably too much.
Come on.
I love single malt scotches. I tell you what, one of the things that I got into, when everything shut down with COVID and everything, was cocktail making. And so I've been really getting into both drinking cocktails and making cocktails as well. I make a very good whiskey sour complete with egg white. Instead of using regular, simple syrup and stuff, I use maple syrup, which is it just adds like another layer that goes really well with the whiskey. I also I like to make a bone dry Manhattan. So instead of regular vermouth, I'll use dry vermouth. So it's just dry vermouth and whiskey. Usually I use rye and bitters. And it's like perfect. I make these pickled cherries that I put to the Manhattan, and it's quite good.
That does sound good, actually. And what music do you listen to? Also from HZA Main.
Oh man, I listen to all kinds of music.
That's exactly what I answer when I'm asked. I mean, there is no specific genre that I like. If there's a specific like song or a music video that I like, I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah, I agree. And there are definitely artists that I like. But even that is like so. I think all over the place. I mean, I just like a lot of different things. I like the Beatles. I like Tom Waits. I like Kendrick Lamar. Another hip hop guy that I really like that isn't, I mean, he's big but not huge is Saba. He's from Chicago. I love jazz. I like folk country kind of stuff like John Prine, Johnny Cash, indie rock, all kinds of stuff. I think there's very little music that I don't like if it's done well. There's lots of music that's done well, but like when it's done well, I think I love everything. I love opera, classical music, all kinds of stuff.
Man, that sounds very good. Getting back to Woozie, did you use like a specific accent for him, or what do you remember from that?
I didn't know. I didn't. I think we purposely wanted him to sound very, very American. Because again, this is this is long ago, and I think there were still way too many sort of like stereotypical Asian characters out there, and that was something we wanted to definitely stay away from. Which I think is why also Woozie's such a fun character, because it's like, Chinese Triad, but he's like this total like San Francisco American dude.
Yeah.
So we I think we purposely tried to keep him sort of all American sounding. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because since he's a Chinese Triad leader, I think it's interesting to discuss, because I don't think I have heard Woozie in a while.
But I think that was something that was very conscious, actually. Because we could have said, it's a Chinese Triad, blah blah blah, but like, we want to say, no, these are like guys that like were born and raised in the States. Sure, they probably speak Chinese, but their English is going to be perfect. So
yeah, because I mean, I believe it was like in San Andreas State, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Las Vegas. So yeah, I guess that does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, James. I have a question. Would you be okay if we'd reenact a scene from the game for the fans?
Sure, except I don't know what to...
No, I have a script. It's a short script over here. The I'm blind, Carl, not stupid scene. Is that okay with you?
That's fine. What you wanna?
I can send it to your email if that's okay.
Okay, sure. I'll have to like open it up on. Okay.
Hold on. You trying to tell me you can't swim?
Seriously, when I'm in the deep water, it panics me. Plus, I'm terrified of eels and squid and seaweed and.
Okay, dude. See, I know you're just trying to make excuses now.
Look, CJ, I need someone from outside the triad who I can trust.
All right, so let me get this straight. You want me to swim around in dirty dark water, dodging little brown jelly beans and Vietnamese gangsters to put a bug on a boat in the harbor?
You're so negative.
Listen, man, when I was a kid, swimming off the Santa Maria, I once got a condom stuck to my face. Horror like that stays with you forever. Believe that.
I have a confession to make. I'm blind.
No shit.
Yes, although I've trained my other senses to a point where you wouldn't notice my handicap in the water, they'd be quite useless.
All right, Woozie, relax. Don't beat yourself up about it. Look, I'll do it. Oh, and one last thing. You do know that I'm black, right? And not Chinese.
I'm blind, Carl, not stupid.
Well, that was great. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah,
and I have a few more questions left before I'll let you go.
Okay.
If that's okay with you. So Red Focus is asking, what's your favorite food?
Oh my. I love eating too, but gotta say ramen. Yeah. In fact, I grew up in an area in Japan called Yamagata, and one of our claim to fame is that Yamagata is the place where ramen is consumed the most in Japan. We love.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have read that you went to school in Japan.
Yeah.
But for high school, you went to the US, or was it college?
College. So
yeah, college.
Still high school, and then I moved to the States for college.
Yeah. So what?
No, I was just saying I went to like a regular Japanese school through 9th grade, which is the end of junior high in Japan. And then I went to an international high school in Tokyo. And when I finished high school, I came over to the States for college.
So what difference did you notice between, the Japanese school system and the US school system?
Oh, freedom, for sure. It was, you just like, there's so many rules in Japanese schools, right? Like all the way down to like, how long your hair can be and, what color socks you can wear, uniforms. And I was so surprised when I first got to actually not even going to the States, but when I went to the international high school, which is run like an American high school, my kids were like, chewing gum in class and like, carrying their Walkmans, in the hallways. And I was like, what is going on? And then the other thing that was very different for me was that, so the Japanese system is very much sort of like you learn what you're supposed to learn. So it's a lot of memorization and sort of regurgitation, if you would, know the facts and just store them in here kind of thing. And I remember on one of my first English tests in the international high school, I was supposed to provide a quote short answer. And so I think I wrote like 2 words or something for each answer, not knowing that short answer still requires for you to like make a statement, and have some kind of supporting fact, so that those were, oh wait, I have to think about this, yeah.
So the Japanese school system is more strict. Do you think, is it still strict at this time?
I would imagine. I mean, I'm sure it's changed.
Maybe not as strict as it used to be.
Yeah. But I think comparing Japanese school to American schools, I'm sure Japanese schools are still very, very much stricter. Yeah.
Moving on, another question from Red Focus. Any tips if someone wants to do a Woozie impression?
Oh boy. How do you do
Well, I would sound like me, and that's pretty much what you need.
That's right. Yeah. So, but also I think the fun thing about was like the blind factor, like like feeling it out, like how do you how are you saying something to somebody that you can't see? That's
Yeah. And how was the experience working with Chris on set?
It was great. I mean, from what I remember, he was like a totally cool dude. And very professional. Yeah, we had fun together. I don't have a lot of like, because our interaction was really just at in the studio, so it was limited, but yeah, he was a good guy.
It's funny because I don't know if he was specialized in acting at the time. Because he used to do a lot of music and he still does. So I don't know, how did he get into all this acting stuff?
Oh,
because he's a good actor. He's a good actor,
He is. I didn't even know about his music stuff when I was working with him.
Yeah.
I just assumed he was an actor. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because so yeah, pretty much I had my point already, because we didn't know if he was an actor from before or something. We did. So yeah. And I think that pretty much wraps up the questions. No, there's one more. So how much were you told of Woozie's backstory before you started doing him?
Oh, nothing until I booked the job. And then I think we had I think it was a fairly short conversation I had with the director before we went into rehearsals. We sat down and talked for 20 minutes, something like that, probably.
But they did tell you he was blind, right?
Oh yeah.
And not stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. And one more thing. Do you think Woozie would have anything to say about the VŌC podcast?
Woozie would say, hey, this podcast is very cool. Very old school.
Well, I hope you had a good time with me on here, because I had a great time with you.
Great. Wonderful. Thanks, man.
Looking forward to speaking to you. And if you don't mind, we might keep in touch.
Sure. Yeah. Excellent.
Well, thank you so much again for coming on and accepting my invite and, being interested in coming on.
No, sure. I love interacting with the fans, and this is like a great forum. So thanks a lot, Ronald. Appreciate it.
Sure thing. And would you mind telling our fans where can they follow your work?
Oh boy, where can they follow? I post stuff on Instagram, at James Yaegashi. It's I'm old, so I don't do a whole lot of social media. Just put my name in Google, see what.
Did you say you're on Cameo?
I am on Cameo too. Yeah, you can do. Yeah, you should be my press agent. Yeah. My handle on Cameo is also just look up James Yaegashi, and it's there. Yeah.
Well, guys, if I missed some of y'all questions, I'm sorry. If I mispronounce your names, I'm sorry. And we kind of didn't get to Dr. Sushong in BioShock, but perhaps next time we'll have enough time to discuss that. So if you guys want a personalized cameo from James as Woozie or any other character, then you can book him, and you can follow him on Instagram, as he said, at James Yaegashi. And of course, you can follow the VŌC Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and of course, Facebook as well. Again, James, thank you so much for coming on, taking the time.
To the fans, take care, guys.
Indeed. See you, James. And goodbye, everybody.